Hello all, this is Zach from the Mile High Game Guys, and with our current work schedule, we only have about a 3-hour window on Sunday to actually record our podcast. Unfortunately, we are unable to meet and did not actually record anything on Sunday, yet again. We will not be leaving you high and dry like the last couple or more times though. Instead, I have managed to pull from the screaming nether of mediocrity an episode that we recorded a couple months ago that did not actually have a chance to come out. So please excuse any dated information and enjoy. Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we continue to be the socially distancing board game podcast that is sponsored by Gray Fox Games.
Woo.
So we're still doing this thing in the COVID times.
Yeah.
Little more inconsistently, I think. Might miss a week here and there, but still doing it. Let's dive right in here to games that we've played recently. Which, Jeff, did you have anything that you've been playing recently?
Yes.
What have you played?
So, besides Blood Bowl, which I have always been playing.
Yes, and always will.
Always and forever.
Always and forever. I did some more Terraforming Mars solo. I wish.
Is this on Steam or
No, on the Tabletop Simulator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I
they're
meant that or
both
the
on
app.
Steam. Yeah.
Yes.
The Tabletop
sorry.
Simulator version is the one I've been playing.
Okay. All right.
I have the Terraforming Mars on my iPad, the app, but I like the Tabletop Simulator version more. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know, less clunky, strict, I guess, is the way to put it.
Okay.
Because the app it has all the rules kind of put in there, so, I don't know. It's just easy to fiddle around. It feels more like playing the actual game than using the app, which feels like an app.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for you to play, Jeff, since the app won't let you cheat, but...
Yes, me, the cheater. Jeff Cheater,
yes.
legendary cheater.
Thing you are very well known for.
Yes. Because I care so much about winning.
Yes, clearly.
Speaking of not winning things, Terraforming Mars solo did not go well. That Mars was not terraformed. I played like three rounds of it and was unsuccessful. So hooray! But Terraforming Mars solo is still interesting. I want to try it with some of the expansions sometime soon, because I'm still just playing, corporate era. See how that would change the solo stuff up.
Okay.
The Terraform, that app that Adrian was talking about, does have it on there if you want to try that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it will feel a lot more like you're playing an app versus playing the solo version of the game.
Yeah. Played some more Gloomhaven solo. Haven't gotten any new content yet. It's kind of going slow. I'm thinking of just not doing the missions I've already done and averaging out the XP so I can get to new content.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But it's hard because some stuff happens in the middle of missions and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I want to get to that choice point that we didn't go and go the other way.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's hard to be like, and just start. It's hard to just start there because the way everything unlocks and missions and things like that. I bought a bunch of board games recently. The Indie Boards and Cards and Stronghold Collective. I don't know what their merged company is called, but
yeah, I don't either.
But they had a big sale. It was like $100. You get 10 games, 5 big box, 5 small box, random games, and then you could pay like a little extra to get games of your choice. So I picked up Second Chance, Kanban Driver's Edition, and a couple other little things. But most of them will be random, so we'll see what I get. If it sucks, I'll just give it away. If it doesn't, I'll keep it.
There you go.
But then I'll have Second Chance, which is a game I like, and was going to get it. It was not available for a long time, I think. This is
true. Yeah.
This is a second edition. It looks like that's pretty clever, clever.
Yeah,
box
pretty darn
art.
Clever. I think.
Pretty darn clever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has that style cover now.
But it doesn't work. It doesn't work as well because that one it's throwing dice. This one it's like it's throwing Tetris pieces.
But yeah. And then I fiddled around with learning a couple games on Tabletopia because they have a free weekend going on right now for Memorial Day weekend. Everyone counts as having premium, so you can play everything, which is cool. Without paying the $10.
That's really
nice. Which is still not a bad deal, especially if you're playing with people.
Yeah.
And then I bought... so we got another round of Stonemaier review emails, but nothing that was like coming up. It was sort of just like, here's a discount code, buy one or two things of whatever you want, and I'll send them to you with an 80% discount. So I ordered the Scythe expansions because I'm thinking of diving back into Scythe, especially solo, now that we've had all these solo times.
Yeah.
And I really want to try the Fenris campaign expansion.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So I got those coming for us. It also means I have an excuse to get the legendary box now, and then the broken token legendary box insert. So I will soon have the fully complete Scythe, which this review opportunity came up because everything else we've either owned or gotten or reviewed, so it's really just expansions. That's all we have left to talk about.
Yeah, this is very true, especially for Stonemaier stuff. They've been super great about getting us things to look at.
Yeah. And then I think that's it besides Blood Bowl.
Right on.
Yeah. It's been a lot of solo gaming.
Yeah. Yeah. A whole bunch of solo gaming.
Mostly because I'm working 2 to 10 p.m. and all I have is like that little time before or after work when I wake up. And usually either people are at work or doing something between, 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. or are asleep after I get home, at almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Turns out if COVID wasn't bad enough, the combination of my weekend schedule and your like second or third shift schedule.
Yeah. There is a packaging third shift that they wanted someone to be there for, and I was like, no.
But yeah, between the changes to the schedules and COVID, it has really hurt our ability to coordinate to play games together.
Unless it was yesterday.
Unless it was yesterday for video games, because that's what we chose to do instead.
That's what it seems we keep choosing.
Yeah. We might need to become the COVID video gaming podcast for a month or so.
I'm sure no one's doing a video game podcast either, so...
No, those are even less popular than board games, I've heard. Zach, you didn't play anything, did you?
No,
board game wise.
Nope. I've made the choice to play a bunch of other video games instead.
Yeah, that's what I thought for this week. For myself, I've played. I have played 2 different games. However, I have played no single full game start to finish since the last time we podcasted. So a couple episodes ago, I think, because of the way the timing worked out, I started a Terraforming Mars game digitally, and we made it halfway through, and then we saved, and we were supposed to play again the next week. Well, I had forgotten that we were playing on Tuesday nights, which is my High Dungeon Delver night. So I had to do MHGG, which meant we had to push off the second half of that Terraforming Mars game another week. So 2 weeks after we started it, we met back up to finish it. We were in a much better spot than I had realized when I had done the other one. Like, we were actually basically 50% on every parameter. And a couple of us had heat engines that just ramped right up in the first couple turns of the game. And so heat got maxed out real quick. Luckily I had one of the cards I was able to get out for like the last couple rounds that let you basically spend 8 heat to raise your terraforming. So basically like bumping temperature. And so I was able to get some more points that way. Then all the oceans got placed, and then oxygen was the last thing that took just a second to get maxed out. Ended up taking about like an hour and a half to 2 hours to finish. So total playtime was somewhere around 4 to 5 hours, split over 2 nights, which certainly isn't ideal, but that's also not an unheard of amount of time for Terraforming Mars to take. And I think especially it was a 4-player game,
4 players.
And especially considering when we started, there were people were kind of relearning Terraforming Mars and learning Tabletop Simulator at the same time.
Did they have a better understanding of it the second time?
Yes, the second half went much, much smoother than the first. So that was great. We did break the scripting towards the end, and so we had to basically just abandon the scripting entirely. I'm not sure what we did, but the scripting on those things is real fiddly, so it's easy to do that. But I ultimately ended up winning, which was unsurprising to me once I realized how much they didn't really understand Tabletop Simulator and how much some of them were refreshing on Terraforming Mars. So, yeah, I won, but it was, not a victory that I'm exactly going to, like, super brag about. But, yeah. The second half of it definitely, like I said, ran smoother, so it gave me a little bit more faith about playing on like Tabletop Simulator. And I don't know, I really, 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 really like Terraforming Mars. I'm just not sure about playing games digitally, and so it kind of falls in this weird like, do I or don't I gray area, and haven't decided where to go from there. But yeah, so that was the first game I played. And then the second game, I barely count, but I'm going to mention it because I'll almost certainly talk about it next week or next episode. I don't know, a few hours before the show started, before we sat down to record today on Sunday, I went and got Pax Pamir 2nd Edition off my shelf and set it up to play a solo game with the Atoma for that one. And I spent most of the time trying to learn how to play the game because it occurred to me I had no idea. I had remembered nothing about how to play. And so I had to like relearn how to play, and then I had to learn how to operate the Atoma. And like it even got to the point like I messaged Boyd with like a rules question because I know he plays Pax Pamir 2nd a fair amount. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? How does this thing even work? I don't understand. And then I figured it out before he replied to me. So that was useful. But I'm like 2 turns in. Like I've done 2 turns for the Atoma, and I'm about to do my 2nd turn. So super early, and I don't know if I'll end up like finishing it. But yeah, I'm trying to relearn Pax Pamir 2nd and play a solo game of that on the table in my social isolation. Maybe I have COVID room. So yeah.
Oh yeah, there's that part.
Yeah, there's that part.
Yeah. Well, I suppose now we can move into banter, and so I can talk about how I got exposed to COVID and had to go get tested and had my brain tickled by one of those fucking swabs.
Tickled.
Yeah. So this wasn't something that was like terribly unexpected in theory. Megan and I, like pretty much as COVID lockdown started to happen, and it started like to become apparent that, oh shit, this is a serious thing and it's going to dramatically affect the world. We had pretty frank conversation. Like my company was staying open and running 1,000-person assembly lines because they make medical devices, some of which are being used to treat COVID. So we're a very essential business. And then Megan's ICU unit that she works on for a while got turned into a COVID unit. And so we were like, at some point, there's probably a pretty good chance one of us is going to get exposed and or get COVID. And so we already had a plan in place of like dividing the house up. Basically, whoever it was who would have an exposure would be relegated to the gear closet / guest bedroom on the camping mattress with the dog and the downstairs bathroom. And then the other one would get our actual bed and the upstairs bathroom. And then we just kind of socially distance in the rest of the house when we, are interacting. So like, she'll hang out in the basement, but we're like complete opposite end. Like she's got her end of the couch and I've got my end now, and they're like separate and we don't cross. So that's been annoying more than anything. I think my risks are pretty low. Basically, I got a call from HR right after I got home from work on Friday. Like I left work at about 2:30. I got home about 3, and I think it was like 3:10 that I got a phone call. And it was like, hey, this is HR, and we've determined that you may have been exposed to somebody who had the COVID. So we're going to give you a paid weekend off of work and make you go get tested. And so they set up a test for me, and I went to one of the drive-through testing locations we have here in Denver. And I was there for like 40 minutes in a line of cars until I got up there. And then the lady was like, all right, pull your mask down so I can get at your nose. And this is really going to suck, but here we go. And shoved a swab way in my nose. And, people
all
joke.
the way up there.
Yeah, people joke that it's like, it feels like they're tickling your brain. Like, holy shit, it feels like they're tickling your brain. And and tickle is the right, like, descriptor for it. Like, that was the biggest thing is, like, she started to put it in. It was like, okay, like, that's deep. That's uncomfortable. And then it went, like, another inch deeper. And I was like, oh, God, I do not like that. And then it went even deeper still. And it was like, oh God, I'm going to sneeze or move. Like I had to I was closing my eyes and trying to just will myself to stay as still as possible. And then right as I was certain I was going to sneeze, she was like, okay, all done. And it was like, oh, it's out. Okay. The tickle is still there. I thought the swab was still in my brain.
Now that's just the hole that they removed your brain through that still tickles.
Yes.
Yep.
And then I sneezed very, very, very forcefully into the tissue they gave me. And she's like, yep, that's not uncommon either. It's like, great. She's like, okay, we'll let you know. You can go now. And then I drove home. And that was the extent of my testing experience. They were all very nice. And I should have my results in any time now. They told me 24 to 48 hours. It has been about 36 hours as of time of recording. And I have not heard from them, but it's the weekend. So I don't know.
Memorial Day weekend, no less.
Yeah, and it's a holiday weekend, so we'll see. I don't have to work again until Friday, though. So I got 2 paid days off because of the COVID thing, and then I already got a paid day off because of Memorial Day. So I got just a really long paid week off of work that I'm doing not a whole lot of productive stuff with. But I'm also now, it's one of those things where until I get a test result back, every single little tickle in my throat or cough or sneeze, I'm like, uh-oh, is this the beginning? And then I have to remind myself that more than likely my exposure was super minor and I'm probably fine. So, yeah.
One of my roommates
That's
had
your
it,
Adrian COVID update.
and
Yeah, you said your roommate had it.
Yeah. I didn't get up sick, nor my other roommate didn't get sick, but it's possible that we did have it. She got really sick back in February. I got much less sick at the beginning of March, but he was pretty sick for about a week. He's fine now, but he apparently has some lung damage of some sort that they're doing tests on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's a mail carrier, so he's always out and about. It's like he has asthma now.
Oof.
Yeah, that's pretty common. It's got a whole everybody talks about it's it's death percentage, and people are like, oh, it's not that deadly. It only kills 1% to 2%. Never mind the fact that that's still potentially millions of people just in the U.S. alone.
Mm-hmm.
But it also there's a lot.
They made a whole a whole TV show about 1 or 2% of the people just dying.
Yeah. So it's a big deal just from that. But then there's a lot of other things that aren't getting talked about as much, like the fact that it can cause long-term lung damage that, who knows how that'll play out 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah. So we'll find out if Adrian has it or not here pretty soon.
Yes.
We'll probably know by the time this episode releases.
Yes.
Yes. We will almost certainly know by the time the episode releases.
Join Slack for the Adrian update.
Exactly, because that was Slack. Slack knew before my mother that I was getting a COVID test, which is mostly because she didn't answer her fucking phone like a terrible mother. But yeah, I recommend not getting COVID so that you don't have to get tested.
Yeah.
Or not being exposed to COVID. So just stay inside at all times and don't interact with any people ever.
Yeah.
And that way you never have to get tested.
Yeah, that test should be enough to keep people in their house for 14 days.
Yeah. like I think like that should be the thing. Like, okay, you want to open up and interact with people? Well, here you have to have a swab shoved in the back of your brain, and then just so you know what you're dealing with. That's just to prepare you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have any other bantery things super much. Like Jeff had hinted earlier, the three of us played a whole bunch of video games a video game last night. Saturday night, we had an epic 4-player Deep Rock Galactic session.
You finally got a video game that we were willing to go back to. So
I know.
Because the first couple times you played it, you were just either playing it solo or with randos, right?
Yeah, I played solo for a bit, and I tried randos. I quickly went back to solo because I like they give you a little robot companion if you play solo, and he's pretty versatile, and he's way more reliable than most randos on the PC. So I'd switched to him, and then I got leveled up enough. Like Ryan would play with me here and there. You played a couple times with me, like 2 or 3 player. Ant played a little bit. And then I finally got leveled up enough where Paul was like, I guess I'll play with Adrian.
I mean, he's still wanting you to be promoted, but at least you're getting close now.
I'm very close now. I'm like 22, 23, and you promote at 25, and then a whole big like promotion chain of missions, but I'm getting there. It's a lot harder at 4, but also a lot better when everybody's playing each type of dwarf because they all really work well together with some of the things they can do.
Very unique things that really make the game easier, and then it just becomes overwhelming forces trying to stop you, which is the main limiting factor.
Yeah, we were working on an assignment, which are like these little chains of missions you can get that unlock things for you. And we were doing an assignment that we had to complete 3 level 4s, I think it was.
Yes.
And the first 2... Huh?
That was just to get access to level 5, basically.
Yeah. And the first 2 weren't too bad. They were hard, but we succeeded. And then the third one was this like salvage mission where you have to repair a bunch of shit. And a lot of it involves standing in a small circle for an extended period of time while things connect. And I think it took us 4 tries to finally beat that.
Yeah, I think our 4th try is what, and that's over 2 sessions too, because we did it like 3 times, and then we're like, ugh, I just don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, we all needed a break.
Yeah. And then we were able to get in our 4th try, and then we played a couple more after that. But yeah, it was relieving to finally have that done, and then we immediately brought the difficulty back down to 3.
Yeah,
because we didn't have to play on 4 otherwise.
Yeah, and we would regularly say things like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about like helping me with this horde of people. We're only at like difficulty 3."
Yep.
Which anything above 1 like starts adding more and more enemies and tougher enemies and stuff like that. Like 1 is the base.
1 is I feel like it's almost laughable. Just how especially if you're doing it by yourself, just how few enemies are coming to you. It's like it's a swarm, and then like 3 enemies show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're much more likely to die just falling down a hole that you weren't expecting in level 1. Not to say that doesn't that danger is also always there, especially for some classes, and some people who just fall into Jeff holes that that they're not expecting to.
Or, I mean, they may or may not be caused by supply pots.
Also true, yes.
We did learn that supply pots also make giant holes through multiple levels that can create a rapid elevator to the bottom.
Yes.
And holes don't bother my character.
No, you lucky bastard.
Yep. But you've been enjoying it, Adrian?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's like daunting playing with you guys. Like I feel like the gunner is probably the one class you might be able to do without the most. Like the scout is clutch, especially for some of the secondary objectives that are gathering things because they stick them up on weird spots of the wall. And so your ability to like grappling hook up to spots and grab things is huge.
A lot of the times in our missions, like we'll start and then I'll be like, okay, I'm off. I'll be back with like half of all the shit that we need.
Yeah. Jeff's digger is great, especially at the very end when you call in the drop pod to like escape, because he can just like point towards the drop pod and then just make a hole that goes straight there, so you don't have to like find your way back through the twisty caverns, which some of the like more advanced missions have ridiculous caverns that are really easy to get lost in, as Boyd can attest. And so like the driller's great for that, and then Paul's engineer can throw up the turrets that are really great for helping to fight. He's got the rocket, which does just wrecks things. Like, it's even better, I think, than my soldier's Gatling gun. And he can do the little platforms to move around. So like all three of those work really well together. The gunner, I think, is the one that could be the most easily left out without really feeling it. Yeah. So it's easy to be like, man, I don't feel like these guys needed me at all. Like when I'm the combat heavy guy and I come in third in kills and last in mining, and I'm just like, what did I even do this mission?
I mean, so you can always, if you're feeling like your gunner character isn't working well, you can always switch to a different one. It's not like, we could technically be a 4 digger team if we wanted to.
Yes.
But you just feel a reason to stick with that gunner right now, or that's just the character you had started with?
Well, for one, I do really like it for solo. In solo, I don't feel as pressured with time. Like, there's not other classes who are beating me to things, so I can take my time to dig my way up to something up on the ceiling or whatever. And I like I really like my zipline in solo. So I like it as a solo character. And then just the fact it's leveled up. Like if I switch to another character, they're going to be back at level 1. And it's going to take me a while to level them all the way up. Right?
Yep.
I wanted to make sure you weren't like, no, like your player levels and your character levels are different things, but your player level applies to all the characters you play. It's like, oh, because in that case.
No, yeah, because to quote what Jeff like the real Deep Rock Galactic starts after you get promoted from your first character,
yes.
Or you have a promoted character, and going to a different character, you would have to promote that one in order to get access to the same stuff. So
exactly. So at this point, I'm just fairly committed to the gunner just because of how far I am with the gunner.
Gotcha.
I like the gunner. I just, he doesn't seem to dominate his niche quite as much as the other classes dominate their niche.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I use a flamethrower.
Yes, you do. And a cryo cannon. Or a cryo cannon, rather.
Yes.
Yeah. The flamethrower frickin' wrecks the little tiny spiders and flying critters and like some of the little small things that are annoying at level like 3 and under.
Bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the reason we won that level 4 or level 5 unlock is because I switched to the flamethrower. So
yep.
Yeah. I think that did play a huge role. So yeah, Deep Rock Galactic. It's been a lot of fun.
I've been playing a bunch of Terraria with Ant and Paul.
Because Paul has his own server, right?
Yeah. So we're in the hard mode and fighting off all of the hard mode bosses. I have defeated the 3 mechanical bosses, but there's a whole set of bosses after that. And you have to defeat the mechanical bosses multiple times to get enough materials to make better armor and weapons. All that fun stuff. So yeah, Terraria's new update's pretty good. I hadn't played it in so long that I don't really even know what a lot of what the new stuff is, but Terraria is still fun. Better than Minecraft, that's for sure.
No, I'll take your word for that.
Yeah.
I disagree. I mean, I haven't played either of them in, I don't know, a decade, it seems like, but...
No, I had looked to see when they started playing Terraria again, and I was like, oh, apparently I own this game, which probably most people who have Steam that buy, like, bundles and stuff like that.
It's been on sale for, like, $2, $3 multiple times.
Yeah, but it looks like I played it for, like, 15 minutes about 10 years ago, and that's about it, so...
Yeah, I played both Minecraft and Terraria a lot more, like, I think about a decade ago. It really seems like it's been at least that long. I mean, I've been in Denver for 8 years, and I haven't played either of them since I've been here, so... but I used to run both a Terraria server and a Minecraft server for some of my friends and family. And I don't know. I always really liked Minecraft more because I liked the 3D more than the 2D side scroller. But
Terraria is just deeper.
yes, well, because Terraria is still, developing and releasing shit all the way up till now, which I guess Minecraft still technically is.
No, Minecraft
but it got bought out by...
is not technically. It actually is still releasing new updates.
Well, I don't follow it anymore, so I wasn't sure. I didn't want to say definitively.
It is still going, but this is apparently the final Terraria update.
Yeah, but Minecraft got bought by Microsoft, and I know a lot of people felt that the updates got less interesting. It does. They've made it very much more successful, but I don't know.
It was already pretty successful before, though. So
yes,
some would say the best-selling game of all time.
Some would say.
Correct people would say.
Yeah, like it sold like 180 million copies, 200 million copies, something like that.
Yeah. I remember, like, the first time I read about Minecraft was like some blog post where somebody talked about this weird game where you had to figure out recipes on your own by just putting things into this little, like, 3x3 grid. And, like, you could put wood and get planks and stuff. And it was like, wow, that sounds tedious and stupid. And then I tried it, and I was like, oh, my God. And I spent years doing that.
So Minecraft did sell 200 million. The next highest one is Grand Theft Auto 5 with 130 million. So there's it sold 70 million more games than its number 2. And
I'm pretty sure I've bought it at least 2 or 3 times.
That's a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how much Grand Theft Auto is going to go up with it just being released for free that day on on Epic.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's surprising for me, at least, is just that PUBG is number 5 with 60 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
PUBG.
that is the only game. Well, this is the newest game on this list.
Yeah, PUBG was a thing. Is a thing.
Yes, it was. It's still it still is.
I played it a couple weeks ago for like 20 minutes. I was like,
you're like,
I got
I'm
murdered. And I looted for 15 minutes, and then the first guy I saw I shot at, then he immediately murdered me, and then I stopped playing.
Were you part of a team, or were you
No,
just
it was just solo.
rocking solo?
It was just solos.
Yeah.
I'd still rather play Apex, which just also had a new update.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been adding new characters for that.
Yeah.
All right. Yay, Murder Island stuff. I remember when that was like a whole section on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Years ago.
Yes.
Anything else banter related you guys got? My life's been pretty uneventful.
No,
we
not
did a
really.
Guess since last time we recorded, we did that social distance taco day.
That's true. Yes.
So I got to see Zach's hobo beard.
Yeah, you did. And Jeff, you should come do that before you go to work.
Yeah.
Because we can do we've been doing it on Tuesdays because as of right now, at least, I've been going to work Monday, Wednesday, and possibly Friday. But I think I'm going into work on Tuesday, so I won't be there if you guys do it. But it tends to be early, 11:30 to 12:30, so that's before your 2 p.m. start time.
Yeah. I can do lunches because it's before work. Even though I do get free lunch at work.
True. Just get free dinner at work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with tacos for breakfast and then dinner for lunch.
Downside is they make it at lunch, so I would have to, it would have to survive. Sometimes it's nachos and stuff like that, so that's not going to survive. You
don't like a soggy nacho?
I like my carbs as soggy as possible.
Yeah.
Whatever gets the cheese into my face.
I mean, that's gonna be its most compact form. So
dense.
Yep.
Dense carbs.
Gross.
Yeah. I don't think I've been up to anything besides working away. We'll see. They have some more rules getting announced in Colorado tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
The governor's
They're supposed to
talk about how restaurants and stuff are going to try and reopen in the streets and sidewalks in open air seating areas.
Yep. I just imagine it opening it up to where restaurants hostile take over the roads and people can't drive anymore.
Yeah.
And it's going to lead to a whole new era of human civilization. in my weird brain thoughts.
No more cars, only restaurants.
Yep.
That's how the God, what was it in Demolition Man? The wars, fast food wars,
The fast food wars,
Yeah,
where Taco Bell came out on top, and they're the only fast food you can get anymore.
franchise wars, I think is what it was.
Franchise wars, yeah, yep.
It sounds like it was an actual shooting war.
Yeah. This is how it happened.
I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't be the first time that corporations in America have shot at each other. Like, that used to go on all the time with train companies in the West.
Yes.
There's a really famous one down by Royal Gorge where they actually shot at each other, competing train companies trying to build track through the Rockies.
I don't think any McDonald's employees are going to start attacking Wendy's employees anytime soon.
No,
Probably not.
That's just going to be the people that don't want to wear masks.
Yes. Aw.
I want somebody to make an 18XX that features the ability to have your construction crews physically attack the other construction crews, laying track across the country.
I feel like that goes against the spirit of it.
Yeah. Another layer of competition.
Unless it's a gun that shoots crippling debt. I think that would work out well for that game.
Yes.
Yep.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're ready to head over and let Jeff ramble into the void about Blood Bowl in this week's Bloody Minute.
Yes. The Kill Online Fumble League still going strong. A ton of games got played just this last weekend. This specific tournament is actually called the Meowton Ball. Get it? It's Meowton. I don't know why Ant named it
instead
that.
of mountain.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That was the part I was missing for a second.
Yeah. I don't know why he named it that, but we're already in round 8 of 9. There might be championships at the end of this because we only have 10 teams. Everyone would make it in, and it would just be a championship bracket. I'm sitting at 6th place here with 7 of the 9 games played. I am 2-1-4. I had a not great game against the Amazons, where my dice were I've talked about bad dice in the past. This bad dice blows all of those bad dice games out of the water. I was trying to get my dice pulled up here. The amount of skulls, ones, and combined low rolls in general were all well above 20-25% of my rolls, which was absolutely insane, and which wouldn't be bad if it was offset by maybe 6s being high. But it was just kind of the most ones, the second most 2s, the third most 3s, the fourth most were 4s, etc., to 6 being my lowest roll. Thankfully, I got out of that with not much damage. My game yesterday was against an ogre team, and it was a good game. I was getting the absolute shit bashed out of me. He got turn 2, he blitzed a zombie and killed it. Turn 1, I blitzed a grot and seriously injured it. He got another casualty in turn 4, a KO and another casualty in turn 5, another casualty in turn 6. So by turn 6 of the first half, he had already had 5 removals, which is nuts. And it wasn't like he was using Mighty Blow to just break my armor. He was absolutely destroying my armor every single roll, and all of his Mighty Blows were able to be used on knockouts and casualties, which he had plenty of. I was able to score on my turn 2 and my turn 5, so I went into that turn 6 being up 2-0 against ogres, but by the end of this game, he had 7 casualties against me, which was absolutely nuts. The only thing that saved me was regeneration. Most of my guys have regeneration 4+. They take a casualty, they're just back in the reserve box, no matter what happens to him. He was able to get a turn 8 touchdown with one of his grots. At that point, I only had 3 or 4 dudes on the pitch. We go into the second half, throw a rock happens, KOs one of my dudes, immediately out. I only had 9, so One of his grots got KO'd, so who gives a shit? And then he gets 2 more KOs and a casualty. He minus moves my last good ghoul, who had block and sure hands for reroll picking up the ball. So thankfully, at the end of the game, my another ghoul got an MVP, which let him pick up sure hands. So he can be my ball handler. Ball fondlers? Ball fondlers.
Ball
Ball
fondlers.
handlers.
Yes. Otherwise, I was just playing the crap out of that game as much as I could because he was absolutely destroying me. He scores on his 5 in the second half after I had a mummy, a ghoul, and a white on the pitch. I had 3 guys, and I was just running them away from his guys so they couldn't hit him. Because there was literally, I'm against 6 ogres. What are 2 guys gonna do except throw uphills that are just gonna come back skulls?
Yeah.
So he ended up scoring on his 5 and not delaying it, because at that point he had scored a touchdown at the end of 8 and now at the end of 5, and so it was 2-2, and he wanted to go for the win and not the tie. Ended up getting a high kick on my receive. I seriously injured an ogre at the very end, or at the very start. So I had one of his ogres out, and it was really just getting my Edge 4 white, Blodge white, down the pitch with the ball, and it was a slog and fight to get the ball into the end zone, which I finally did on a 4+ pickup and 2 go for it's, and made it 3-2 at the end, going into turn 8. Top 8, he went to do a 3-die block, which is usually safe, but it was skull, both down, and no rerolls left,
geez.
so down he went. Came back, and I had all my guys set all the way in the back because he was going to do a throw teammate, of course, and ended up with him failing that. I just blitzed one of his grots, badly hurt it, and ended the game 3-2, and a win after taking 7 casualties. I can't believe I came back and won that with having so many guys off the pitch. Thankfully, only one. I lost a zombie. Whatever. Zombies die. He didn't even have star player points, so who cares?
So what's the point of him?
He was Tom Photos' Norse zombie, because when you kill other players, you have a chance to get them as a zombie for free on your team. So he's named the other player Lysol. So Tom's Norse zombie is now dead, and then my ghoul, of course, got a minus move, which is rip ghoul. I have retired and already replaced him. So yeah, that was the ogres. I'm up against the absolutely batshit insane Skaven team. The Skaven Corona carriers are just getting more and more stat ups. He has 4+ strengths and plus strength, plus move, gutter runner, plus edge, plus move, gutter runner, a plus strength tackle blitzer, and both of his throwers have plus strength. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. He's super fast and super strong. Yeah, so maybe that'll be tonight or tomorrow. And then I think Tom is probably going to win with his Norse. He's 6-1-0 right now with 2 more games left to play.
Oh, wow.
So unless he loses both of them, then Ant will be in there. Ant's second place.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's Blood Bowl.
There you go. Bloody Minute. Done and done.
All right. And the Blood Bowl 2 finally just rolled into its like 3rd or 4th round or something.
So much Blood Bowl.
Yeah. Well, not in that league. I mean, it's gone 4 rounds in how long? When that start? March?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, let's move on to some news and Kickstarter then, shall we?
We shall. First up in news this week, speaking of Blood Bowl and Games Workshop is announcing a new edition of Warhammer 40,000. Gasp.
What edition is this now?
9th edition.
9th edition. Wow. Okay. That's a lot.
8th edition was 3 years ago. So, and they
Is
were.
that a short amount of time between the two, or
I think so. Yeah, like 3rd edition when I played was around forever, and then 4th and 5th was a few years. Like 6th was super short, I guess. 7th, and then the big change was in 8th, of course. And now here's another revision of that. They're pushing real hard Space Marines, Necrons, and Sisters of Battle because those are the next 3 armies. Well, Space Marines are always something, of course, but Necrons are getting a new army. A huge, cool update for them. They look cooler than ever. The Necron Warrior has been around since I was playing the model kit, and so now there's going to be a new Necron model kit that looks way different.
Ooh.
They used to have these like the little green plastic tubes that would go in their guns that were like clear plastic, which were an interesting model choice, but those are gone. No more weird clear plastic pieces. If you want green, you got to paint it. But they're getting a whole bunch of new units and things like that. Sisters of Battle, I know less about because they're not pushing that as much, but this just got announced. The major changes, Ant also has been wanting to play, so I've been reading the rules to 8th edition because they're free on Games Workshop's website, and so we should be able to play here soon.
Okay.
But I guess there's going to be a new campaign crusade mode where you'll get experience in battle honors, and there's new rules. It's like a campaign narrative way to play the game, where guys will actually like upgrade and things like that.
Gotcha.
Command points were like rerolls, which were limited depending on how you made your army. They've been super popular and super cool, and so now they're just going to give everyone more of them. As an Imperial Guard player, tanks are always big. Apparently tanks sucked because you could just run like a useless grot mob at them, and then they couldn't shoot anymore because they were in close combat. Like, what keeps a tank from shooting when it's got a bunch of little creeps on it? Now they can...
I'm going to assume it's just they're running up and going, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, got to pay attention to this guy.
Yes. And so the guy had to get out of the top of his sword and start hacking at him from the top of the tank, you know?
Yep.
But apparently they can shoot in close combat now, which I was like, why is that not always been a thing? Some terrain rules. They've rebalanced like scales of games with like those like more board game like GW products like Kill Team, and which has been super popular. Necromunda they relaunched. You could do really small scale stuff, but you could play 40k at small scale, but it wasn't always really balanced. Apparently they're balancing all the scales of the game. Something about strategic reserves, which is more game mechanic-y than I am aware of. They got rid of blast weapons back in the day, or with this edition. Like, there used to be, I can only assume, like, the templates went away. You were just shooting something and it would do amount of damage. I guess blast weapons are back, which I'd be like, why'd they remove blast weapons? And then, of course, they have to try and make all of the really expensive models as powerful as possible, so flyers are getting buffed. So people have to drop $150 on flyers to be competitive.
Games Workshop has to Game Workshop, so...
Yeah, they just announced 2 days ago that there was price adjustments, which means price increases, but they don't say increases, they say adjustments, even though nothing goes down in price. And then they announced this, so... But 40k's got a new logo. It's the first new logo, as far as I am aware, since 2nd edition. 3rd edition had the old logo, and so now there's a new 40k logo. It looks good. I look forward to seeing more of what they got going on with the new edition, and I might try out some Tabletop Simulator 8th edition and see how it goes.
Ooh.
That'll be a lot cheaper than playing it in real life.
Yeah, it's a good thing I own most of it already, so it's just back in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'd be getting a different car from Chicago and might load that up with a bunch of GW stuff and bring it back.
One thing I really like on the little website they have for this is like, so they've got a lot of different shit on here, and a lot of it you can like switch between, like as you scroll up and down, you can also like cycle side to side. Mm-hmm. And right above the featured factions, they have like new to Warhammer 40k and they have a whole bunch of different like, collect, build, paint, play, read, game, and watch. And I really like the way they spin having to build and paint all of the minis yourselves into a strong positive.
I mean, of course they would.
Yeah. Like building your models is an integral part of the Warhammer 40K hobby and one that gives hours of satisfaction.
Some people are really into that.
I mean, some people are, but I think most players would be totally happy to have completely assembled minis.
Oh, one thing I was flipping through the like the Visions of War where they have like a bunch of little art things, and
they're really cool.
I saw Roboot Gulamane. He's the big guy with the fiery sword and the angel halo. He's a Primarch. He's one of the Emperor's sons. He hasn't been around in very tens of thousands of years. But the dude behind him to the left is Cypher. He's like one of the fallen Dark Angels. He's been around forever and been a mystery. I wonder what this picture is from. I don't know if it's an old one or a new one upcoming, but I want to know what the fuck Cypher's up to. I played Dark Angels, so this is integral to my fluff needs.
I'm sure.
Fair enough. Did you notice, Jeff, that the Visions of War change depending on which faction you're focused on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Necron one has some new Necron art, as well as their first Codex art on the front, which I was like, that's a weird choice. But yeah.
The Sisters of Battle I noticed have boob plate, which is totally impractical if you're actually wearing plate armor. But
that's power armor, so it's fine.
I'm sure it's different.
Obviously it's different.
Yes.
They're never whacked with swords or spears or other melee weapons, so I'm sure it doesn't matter.
No, they'd be whacked with power swords and power spears, which would just cut through it anyways.
Yep.
Oh. But yeah,
they've
new
been releasing
Warhammer.
New pictures and stuff that I've been looking at on their subreddit. The new Necron stuff looks really cool. Necrons used to be like meh, but these actually look pretty great.
Cool.
Apparently the Necrons were in hibernation for 60 million years.
Yes.
Yes.
And then they had these gods called Catan, and they use them like Pokemon now. Like, they have little shards of them, and they're like, I choose you, the Deceiver, and it goes out and murders things, and then it comes back into its little Pokeball.
Nice.
It's basically like Pokemon, except giant...
and a little bit more murdery.
God monsters, yeah.
Yeah.
Like all things Warhammer, a little more murdery than you'd think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 40K. Another edition. Glad I didn't get it.
Indeed. There you go. Next up in news.
The big conventions are getting canceled this year.
Yep. So the two big ones have officially pulled the plug for 2020. So Spiel was the first one, and they announced that despite trying to work with the German authorities, they couldn't find any way to actually make it work. And so they were forced to postpone till next year. Their press release pretty much just says that exactly. They don't talk about doing any kind of online con or anything like that. So, which isn't totally surprising considering Essen's not really like a gaming con. It's more of an industry one. So, it just, a lot of Euros aren't going to get debuted this year. They'll have to get debuted some other way. And then a few days later, Gen Con also announced that they were going to cancel. And that they didn't think there was any way that by August it would be safe enough to have a 60,000 plus person convention, which is accurate.
I wonder how much of it was them waiting to see what Essen was going to do.
Yeah, it did seem to happen very quick on the heels of that.
Especially for how long it took for them to cancel, I guess.
Yeah, well, and especially like since Essen in theory is 2 months after Gen Con, for them to cancel it would seem to be a little bit irresponsible for Gen Con to have kept going even earlier. So I don't know. The Gen Con update about it did have a little bit more information. For instance, they are doing similar to what Geekway had tried to do. They're actually doing it where you can just roll over your ticket to next year if you'd already purchased a ticket, or you could ask for a refund. And then anyone who booked hotels through the housing portal, those reservations are automatically canceled and no fees
fee.
or anything. Yeah.
Because it's normally a $50 fee, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, all of the pop-up Gen Con events are also canceled. So like that was the thing they'd announced a little while back where they were going to do like game stores around the country, little like satellite Gen Cons. Those are also all
they did
canceled.
That last year, right?
Yeah.
Or last couple of years?
I couldn't. I thought it was more recent than that, but you know, I could be wrong.
And I wonder how much of it was like they need to wait until a certain date before they can officially cancel to get the most amount of money back. Something like Geekway did. They're getting all their money back, so people don't have to roll over. They can just refund and still be able to do it next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Gen Con also did announce that they'll do a Gen Con online during the original dates of the convention. And so they're going to have a bunch of events and programming that people can participate in from the comfort of your favorite quarantine sweatpants.
Yes.
So, yeah. They're still selling Gen Con 2020 gear because, unsurprisingly, they probably made a shit ton of gear that they plan to sell at the convention that they can't anymore.
Yep.
So you could still go buy their gear to help continue to support the organization behind Gen Con.
Geekway, same deal. You can buy Geekway 2020 t-shirts.
Yes. So, whole bunch of stuff like that. And with those two gone, that'll probably put the nail in the coffin for pretty much any con. Like, I can't imagine there's many that would still try to go that haven't already canceled.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I would say, so I don't think Shucks has said anything yet. And then there's BGG Con, but those are both in October and November. So that's still long enough away that they can sort of see what happens. Yeah.
We'll see.
Speaking of Spiel, the Spiel DR awards are still going to happen, like these nominees.
So they did still announce the nominees for Spiel DR, and as is becoming increasingly obvious, I am just completely out of touch with the hobby. I did not recognize any of the three nominated for Spiel DR, which are My City by Rainier Knizia, Nova Luna by Uwe Rosenberg, and Pictures by Daniela and Christian Storr. Like I vaguely remember talking about an Uwe game a while back, but I didn't think it was Nova Luna. Maybe it was, and I definitely don't remember anything about My City, the Rainier Knizia one. So I don't know.
No, I don't recognize Nova Luna at all. So it hasn't been anything that we've talked about. And this is from Stronghold. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Kennerspiel actually has a few that we know of.
I mean, I would say all three. I mean, at least know of.
Well, for me, it's two of the three.
Okay.
So Cartographers, which we here on the show all really like. It's the role player tale, little flip and fill game that I was hesitant about because I hated role players so much I didn't want to play anything even remotely associated with it. And then turns out Cartographers is really good and not at all like role player.
No.
Then The Crew by Thomas Singh, which is the one that I don't actually really know much about. Like the name didn't ring a bell for me.
It's like it's like a cooperative trick-taking game.
Yep.
Okay. And then lastly, The King's Dilemma by Halmer Hawk and Lorenzo Silva, which you guys started your King's Dilemma in the pre-COVID.
We got about 4 sessions in, I think.
That seems about right, yeah. I think we did 2 sessions of 2, so yeah.
Yep. I look forward to forgetting everything about that game and going back to it to be like, what's happening?
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Probably basically start over.
Oh, God, no.
No.
And then there are 3 for Kinderspiel, Hedgehog Roll, Photo Fish, and Virsinde Roboter, which is...
I usually don't know those, but that's not too surprising.
Yeah. That trend continues. So The winners are going to be announced June 15th. So, that's the winners for Kinderspiel. And then the Spiel and Kennerspiel will be announced July 20th. So we've got 2 months to wait
to make
until
all these
we hear.
games sell out.
Correct. So yeah, that's the Spiel canceled and also Spiel Awards news drop.
And that is also it for news.
Indeed. Moving on to listener feedback. We don't have any new emails.
Nope.
Although I thought somebody had said they were going to send us an email to see if it made it into listener feedback
and they
from
failed.
somebody on Slack. Yeah, they did not do that. There was, however, a couple new comments over on our YouTube. Victor Pintos on episode 189, Vitamin S, pointed out that there is a Terraforming Mars mod with all expansions on Tabletop Simulator, but not in the workshop. Search for Make Mars Green Again.
So I'm assuming that's like you can find it online or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm assuming he means a scripted mod with all the expansions, because there's multiple mods with all the expansions. They're just not scripted.
Yeah.
And
from what I know, it's fairly easy to, like, once you have the file, you can just give it to somebody. They put it in their Steam, like in their Steam directory in a certain spot, and then it'll just show up. It doesn't seem like it's too hard to add non-workshop mods to Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah. Then after Victor's comment, Paulo chimed in on the same video. Everyone's volume is great now. Sports games that I really like. Blood Bowl, Team Manager. Yeah, it's a bit of a cheat, but it's sports themed. Baseball Highlights 2045 is amazing. Was in the race for Game of the Year for me in 2015. Winner's Circle, horse race betting. Race, Formula 90. Fantastic Formula 1 racing game with no dice rolling, a very strategic game. Automobiles, another racing game, this one from David Short, a bag building race game. Excellent. Luchador, Mexican wrestling dice, especially if you play with a version that has a 3D ring. It's a fun dice chucking game. Light, but very fun. Championship Formula Racing, another Formula 1 racing game without dice rolling, another very strategic game. This one and Formula 90 are fantastic racing games for people like me and Adrian that prefer less luck in games and more planning. Slapshot is a crazy fun party game in an ice hockey setting. Tavaura, very cool looking game about competing in a surfing tournament. Grand Slam, very simple once you get past the rules, but very cool tennis card game. Formula Motor Racing. The good Dr. Knizia has this very good fast-playing racing game without a racing track per se. Very engaging game. I own, but still haven't played, Football Highlights 2052, but expect it to be very good. Also own Flip Football and NFL card game that looks interesting, but still haven't played it either. So, as you see, there are several very interesting sports games. Yes, most of them are racing related, but racing is a sport. Cheers. I hadn't even thought about racing games. I liked when we used to play it, 6 years ago, your copy of Formula Day.
Yeah. But you wouldn't want to play that now, I don't think.
I don't. I do remember enjoying the shifting mechanism where it affected what dice you could roll. And
yeah, Formula D has cool for that, but it's still very much if someone has lucky die rolls, then there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, and it has this like street racing one that adds like some extra things that you can do, but some people's powers are a lot worse than others, and so I've noticed people not like to use those. So it's one of those things of like you want to have multiple laps because you want to actually have the rounding or the dice rolling sort of average out in that regard. But every time I've played it so far, after one, like halfway through the lap, everyone's just like, well, sort of finishing after one lap, right?
Right.
Because it just takes.
We need
like,
60
a lot.
laps, man. Minute 38
Exactly.
a lap. We're out of here.
Yeah, And it also, you want to play with more people, but you really don't. Like, that's the problem too, I think.
Yeah.
Is that if you play with a lot of people, it just takes forever. But you want a lot of cards there to actually have, like, interesting, like, blocking off and, sort of stuff like that.
Things actually happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely hadn't considered some of those as being like sports games. But I still don't. I don't know.
None of those sounded Bronco themed to me, so I feel like you won't be interested in them.
That's probably accurate. There was a really shitty MMA game that I remember making fun of on Kickstarter like a long, long time ago. Nobody tries to make UFC board games, mostly because they'd probably be shitty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that I feel like I've heard some decent things about that Luchador game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, several of the games in his email I wouldn't mind checking out.
I'm sure there'll be some sort
his YouTube comment.
Island-themed Battle Royale UFC game at some point.
Yeah, especially once they do their actual UFC fight island thing so that they can avoid... Yeah.
SEA.
What?
UFC.
UFC.
SEA.
UFC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because that was in that John Oliver skit, too.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what do you guys... I feel like I heard that joke before.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it for listener feedback.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like to get a hold of us, there are multiple ways to do so. You can send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We also have an Instagram account at MHGameGuys. Facebook.com/MHGameGuys if you would like to follow us over on Facebook. Our website, milehighgameguys.com, has links to awesome things like our Slack channel, which is full of people talking about all kinds of random things. Most recently today, one of the highlights was Dayton, a listener from the Pacific Northwest, sharing a whole bunch of photos of the baby chicks that she's raising, and her dog's like staring at the baby chicks, which is great. So yeah, all kinds of random stuff. And then you can also join News and Politics so that we have other people to rail about politics with, because that's always fun.
Oh, God.
There's also links there to our BGG guild number 2731, if you want to follow us over on BGG. And we have our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. We haven't really done any board game related streams over on Twitch. We do the Mile High Dungeon Delvers every other Tuesday, and I did do a couple of video game streams during the week when I was off work, but like normal people have jobs and can't just watch Twitch during the day, so nobody really joined. But those are things that occasionally will happen on our Twitch channel if you follow us over there. Yeah, that wraps up all the different ways to get a hold of us. As always, we would like to take a little bit of time to thank our sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for continuing to support the show. Some of their latest games, like Zoned Out, is available on their website, including 6 exclusive promos, or Draw Your Own Conclusions, a fun party game about drawing, both of which we have in our possession and hope to get a play in person sometime soon so that we can talk about them on the show. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement about Gray Fox?
Of course. Gray Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, do the right thing. You sometimes have to leave the things you care about behind.
That seems very appropriate for going through a pandemic. You gotta be willing to cut them loose and leave them to die. Yeah, that wraps up the episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening in, and we'll catch you on the next one. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Cool Guy Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.